Everyone out there, I know I've told you my thoughts on many of the Percy Jackson books and many of the spin-off series like Trials of Apollo, the Heroes of Olympus, all that stuff, but I've never given you my ratings for every single book in the Riot-verse. Every single mainstream book, there's 21 books. I'm not talking about all the side books, the side stories, none of that, but every single mainstream book, 21 of them, I'm going to go through them right now and give you my ranking of them 1 through 10. 10 obviously being the best and 1 being the least best. So guys, let's go ahead and get started with The Lightning Thief, the OG Percy Jackson book. Guys, I'm giving this an 8 out of 10. This is a solid book. Next up, we got The Sea of Monsters. Guys, I'm going 6 out of 10 on this one. It's not terrible. It's not the best. It's probably the worst Percy Jackson book, but it's still really good. 6 out of 10. The Titan's Curse is one that I didn't like as much when I first read it, but as I've reread it over the years, I like it a lot more. So we're going 9 out of 10 for this one, our first 9 out of 10. It's a really good book. The only downfall for this one is that Annabeth isn't in a lot of it, and that's not good because I love Annabeth. Next up, we got the Battle of the Labyrinth, and guys, this is another solid 8 out of 10, just like The Lightning Thief. It's a really, really great book. I don't really have anything negative to say about the Percy Jackson series. They're all great books. The Last Olympian, the last book in the Percy Jackson series, guys, this is a 10 out of 10. This is almost a perfect book. This is probably the best book Rick Riordan has ever written, and it's the best one he's ever going to write. Moving on to the Heroes of Olympus series, we have The Lost Hero. Guys, this is another 6 out of 10. I think it's on the same level as The Sea of Monsters. Both The Sea of Monsters and this book are the least best books in their respective series, so it gets a 6 out of 10. I'm definitely not as high on the Son of Neptune as some of you guys out there, so we're going 7 out of 10 for this one. Still a really good book. Not too high on it. It's definitely not as good as The Titan's Curse in my opinion. Next up, we got the Mark of Athena, guys. I think this is another 10 out of 10. It's not as good as the Last Olympian, but it's like slightly lower. I can't put it to 9. It's got to be a 10 out of 10. And somehow Rick Riordan continued his hot streak with the House of Hades. This is another 10 out of 10, guys. This is such a good book. 2 books in a row that are 10 out of 10. He interwove the stories of Percy and Annabeth and the members of the Argo 2 so well. It's an amazing book. And last, we have the Blood of Olympus. Guys, I like this actually more when I reread it like a year ago than when I read it in 2014 when it came out. So we're going to go 5 out of 10 on this one because I think originally it would have been like a 3 out of 10. Guys, it's not the... it's a satisfying conclusion. Okay, I'll give it that. But still, it could have been so much better. We didn't see the demigods use their powers that much. It just wasn't that good. Next, we're moving on to the Kane Chronicles, guys. The first book in that series, The Red Pyramid. I'm going 7 out of 10. It's not the best. It's not the worst, but it's better than mid-tier, so we're going 7 out of 10. It's a great Egyptian story. I love Egyptian mythology. The second Kane Chronicles, The Throne of Fire, is worse than The Red Pyramid, but not significantly worse, although I think it's on the same level as The Blood of Olympus. It's just not that great, so I'm going 5 out of 10 for this one. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing much else to say about this. Last, we got The Serpent Shadow. This is a really great book. I'm going 9 out of 10. Guys, if you haven't read the Kane Chronicles, you gotta read them. Other than The Throne of Fire, it's still a pretty good book, but it's not as good as some of the other ones. It's a really good series though, so go check it out if you haven't. I'm not gonna lie to you people, my rankings for the last 8 books in this list are not very good, and you'll just have to see why. First, we're starting with Magnus Chase and the Gods of Asgard, book 1, The Sword of Summer. Guys, I've only read this book once, and there's a reason for that. This is a 5 out of 10, and it might be the best one in the series, and if that's the case, 5 out of 10 being the best, I don't know what else to say. You know it's bad. Not saying it's terrible, but it just doesn't live up to the rest of the books Rick Riordan wrote before this. Magnus Chase and the Hammer of Thor, the second book, I'm also going a 5 out of 10. It didn't increase anything from the first book. It's not any worse, I guess, but it's not great still. I'm going 5 out of 10. And finally, the last book in that series, The Ship of the Dead. I also have only read this once. I've only read the Hammer of Thor. I've only read all the Magnus Chase books once, okay? But this, we're going 4 out of 10 just because it wasn't that great of a conclusion for what I remember. It just wasn't satisfying. 4 out of 10. If you stuck around this long, kudos to you. We're on to the Trials of Apollo, the last series. I'm going 7 out of 10 for the first book in this series. And I'll be honest, this is tied for the best book in that series, so 7 out of 10 is the highest we're going to get. Second book in that series, The Dark Prophecy. Even though this had Leo Valdez in it, it's a 5 out of 10. It just didn't really have any other redeeming qualities. Leo was the only good part of this. All right, I said there was one more book tied for the top in the series, and that is this book, The Burning Maze, The Trials of Apollo, The Burning Maze. We're going 7 out of 10 for this one. Has Piper and Jason in it. It's just the best book besides The Origin. The first book is really good because Percy Jackson is it, and in this book we have Piper and Jason having that sacrificial death. I don't know if it was really a sacrifice, but guys, the book is still just better than any of the other books in the series. I would put The Hidden Oracle a tiny bit above this one, but not so much to separate them from both being 7 out of 10. We're on to the fourth book in the Trials of Apollo series, The Tyrants Tomb. Guys, I don't like this book. I sincerely do not like this book. It's 4 out of 10. It's just, it has no redeeming qualities. The entire book, we know exactly what's going to happen. There's going to be a battle at the end. We're just like, we're building up to it. Whereas in all the Quest books, you know, in all the Percy Jackson books, we don't know exactly what's going to happen. But in this book, they're like, yeah, there's going to be a battle. There's definitely going to be a battle on Apollo's birthday. And it just made everything so anticlimactic. I didn't enjoy it. And finally, we're on to the last main book in the Riderverse, The Tower of Nero. This is, I'll give it a 5.5 out of 10. There was so much hype around this book, and when I read it, I just didn't enjoy it that much. I haven't reread it since. I mean, there are these troll creatures in that book who like to wear hats for no reason. Like, what? Why'd you even write that? It's so random, it's so weird. And there you have it, guys. Those are my rankings for all of the Riderverse books. Let me know in the comments your rankings for all the books if you can fit it into a comment, or just let me know your rankings for some of the books. It doesn't matter. But still, I do want to see your rankings because we probably have differing opinions. So get in the comments right now. And if you stayed this long, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you later.